Have you ever wished there was a secret place where stress melts away and dreams come alive? Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and step into the midnight garden, where the grown-up world disappears and true rest begins. The night was thick, with restless thoughts. Eleanor lay tangled in her sheets, her mind flickering like a broken lantern. Every tiny sound, a creak of wood, a distant car, seemed louder in the darkness. She had tried everything: warm tea, a heavy book, even counting backward from 1,000. Still, sleep teased her, dancing just out of reach. It wasn't just tonight. Lately, it felt like the whole world was spinning too fast, and she couldn't find her footing. She sighed, turning once more, wondering if real rest was something only children could find anymore. At the edge of her awareness, Eleanor heard something unusual, a soft whisper, almost like the rustle of silk. She sat up. Her room was unchanged, but there, where the closet door should have been, stood an arched doorway made of ivy and silver mist. It pulsed gently, as if breathing, inviting her closer. Heart fluttering but strangely calm, Eleanor swung her legs over the bed. Barefoot and in her soft pajamas, she walked toward the doorway, drawn by an invisible thread. Without a second thought, she stepped through, and the world around her dissolved into stars. She landed softly, as if gravity had agreed to be kinder here. The ground was carpeted with deep green moss, cool and comforting. Trees stretched up into an endless sky, their leaves shimmering with a silvery glow. Warm lantern light floated through the air, each orb humming a soothing melody. Eleanor took a deep breath. The air was sweet with the scent of lavender and something older, like the memory of a summer night long forgotten. She realized, with a small smile, that every step she took into this place made her feel lighter, as if each breath untangled a knot inside her chest. Ahead, a gentle figure waited. A tall man in a robe woven from starlight, holding a lantern that never touched the ground. The man bowed slightly as Eleanor approached, his lantern casting ripples of golden light across the mossy ground. "Welcome, dreamer," he said, his voice deep and warm like a blanket fresh from the dryer. "You have crossed into the midnight garden. Here, you will find what you did not know you were seeking." Eleanor opened her mouth to speak, but found no need for words. It was as if the garden already knew her questions and answered them with the gentle rustle of the trees. The lantern keeper gestured for her to follow, his light dancing ahead like a guide. As she walked behind him, she realized the knots in her mind, the endless worries, the unfinished lists, were beginning to unravel and fall away like autumn leaves. They walked until the path opened into a clearing where a river flowed. Not with water, but with a slow, shimmering stream of stars. Eleanor gasped softly. The river's surface mirrored the night sky, and each ripple carried a soft, chiming sound, like tiny bells in the distance. The lantern keeper knelt by the riverbank, dipping his hand into the flowing starlight. "Here," he said, "you may leave behind what burdens you. Cast them into the river and watch them drift into dreams." Eleanor knelt too, closing her eyes. She cupped her hands, feeling a heavy, invisible weight form. All the stress, the fears, the nagging worries she had carried too long. She released them into the river, and the moment they touched the shimmering flow, they dissolved into brilliant dust, carried away on a current of peace. Further along the river's edge, Eleanor found a meadow where soft clouds floated just above the ground, each one cradling a gentle glow. "Rest," said the lantern keeper, his voice fading into the hum of the garden. "You are safe here." She lay down on the nearest cloud, which gave way just enough to hold her as if she weighed no more than a sigh. Above her, the stars wheeled slowly across the sky, not rushed, not hurried, simply drifting. Her body melted into the softness beneath her, and for the first time in what felt like years, she felt herself surrender to true, deep rest. The cloud rocked her gently, singing a lullaby without words, a song that belonged to all the tired hearts of the world. As Eleanor drifted, on her cloud, faint echoes began to stir in the air around her, soft whispers, half-remembered songs, the laughter of her childhood self. She opened her eyes and saw the sky above shifting, scenes playing out like gentle waves, a swing set from a forgotten summer, a paper boat floating on a rain puddle, a night she once believed in magic without question. The echoes wrapped around her, not clinging but welcoming, old dreams she had abandoned, patiently waiting. A small voice, light and clear, whispered, "You never really lost us. We just fell asleep too." Eleanor smiled, tears warming her eyes but never falling. She whispered back, "I'm here now." And the dreams sighed with contentment, sinking deeper into the soft night. The cloud slowly floated down to a cozy clearing, where a tiny table stood under a wide, ancient tree whose leaves shimmered with colors Eleanor couldn't name. Waiting for her was a delicate teacup, steam curling lazily into the air. The lantern keeper was gone now, but Eleanor somehow knew what to do. She sat down, lifting the teacup. The tea smelled like rain, warm bread, and hope. As she sipped, a profound stillness settled in her chest, spreading outward until even her toes tingled with peace. The tea did not erase her memories or her duties waiting in the waking world. It simply gave her permission to pause, to savor the space between the heartbeats. Eleanor closed her eyes and listened to the garden breathe. In the crook of a low-hanging branch hung a peculiar clock, old and ornate, its hands moving gently but backward. Intrigued, Eleanor approached. Beneath the clock, a carved plaque read, "Not all progress is forward. Some healing asks you to return." The clock chimed, but instead of a harsh sound, it was a warm ripple through the air, and as it rang, Eleanor felt herself softening even more, as if she were walking backward through layers of tiredness, peeling them away to reveal something young and tender underneath. Each backward tick was a reminder. She didn't always have to rush forward. Sometimes peace meant allowing herself to simply be, without destination, without urgency. She stood there for a long moment, feeling time dissolve like sugar in warm tea. Past the ticking clock, Eleanor followed a path lined with flickering candles, each flame pulsing with a quiet heartbeat. At the end of the path stood a vast building, made entirely of glass and silver vines, the Library of Unfinished Wishes. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and fresh rain. Endless shelves towered into the soft-lit sky, each holding tiny scrolls, each scroll humming faintly, vibrating with possibilities. A gentle librarian, with eyes like shimmering pools, nodded at her. "You may visit your unfinished wishes," they said. "Not to judge them, only to remember." Eleanor wandered the aisles, unrolling scrolls at random. One spoke of her dream to learn to paint. Another whispered about a forgotten trip she once hoped to take. None of them reproached her. They simply shimmered in patient understanding. Alive and waiting, like seeds asleep beneath winter soil. Beyond the library, Eleanor found a willow tree unlike any other, its drooping branches strung with small silver bells. As the wind moved through the tree, the bells sang, creating a melody so soft and layered it seemed stitched from stardust and memory. When she stepped closer, the melody shifted, tuning itself to her, a song of her own soul, made audible. The notes told her story, her struggles, her victories, her hidden joys she had forgotten to celebrate. She placed her hand against the tree's trunk, feeling its steady heartbeat syncing with her own, and for the first time in a long while, she felt deeply, profoundly known, not for what she had achieved, but simply for who she was. The path, from the singing willow, led to the edge of a calm, glistening lake. At the water's edge, tied to a crooked dock, floated a small boat made entirely of soft, stitched pillows. Eleanor laughed softly, a real, full laugh that seemed to rise from her toes. She stepped into the pillow boat, which rocked gently, invitingly. Without oars or sails, it began to drift across the lake, the surface smooth and unbroken, carrying her deeper into the heart of the midnight garden. The sky overhead bloomed with slow-moving constellations, each one blinking sleepily. Wrapped in softness, Eleanor leaned back, letting the stars rock her toward whatever waited next, feeling weightless and wonderfully lost. As the pillow boat glided across the lake, Eleanor noticed a soft glow ahead, a bridge slowly taking shape in the mist. It wasn't made of stone or wood, but of something much lighter, like silk stitched together with deep, luxurious yawns. Each plank seemed woven from the gentle sighs of tired travelers, forming a bridge that swayed lazily but securely in the air. As Eleanor stepped out of the boat and onto the bridge, she found herself yawning too, not out of boredom, but because the air itself was thick with the sweetest kind of drowsiness. Each step she took across the bridge felt like another weight slipping from her soul, until at last she wasn't walking. She was floating forward, carried by the hum of 1,000 contented dreams. At the end of the bridge stood a great archway carved from moonstone, humming softly. It pulsed with a light that was neither bright nor dim, just enough to see by, just enough to feel safe. The words above the arch were simple: to remember, to rest, to return. The lantern keeper reappeared beside her, his lantern glowing softly. "You have gathered what you needed," he said, voice warm as a sunrise. "Are you ready to return, carrying your rest with you?" Eleanor hesitated, not out of fear, but because she finally understood. This peace had always been within her. She smiled, stepped forward, and passed through the dream gate. Eleanor woke slowly, not with a jolt, but like a petal unfolding, to morning. Her bed felt softer, the air sweeter. She stretched luxuriously, feeling no rush, no pressure, just an easy kind of joy she hadn't known in far too long. Outside her window, the sky was brushing itself with the first soft blues of dawn. Somewhere deep inside, she knew the midnight garden was still there, not in some distant place, but always within reach whenever her heart called for it. She carried its peace with her now, tucked like a secret lantern just behind her ribs, ready to glow whenever she needed to find her way back to rest. Eleanor smiled, closed her eyes one last time, and breathed in the waking light. Even after Eleanor opened her eyes to the waking world, she knew the truth. The midnight garden wasn't a place you traveled to. It was a place you carried, planted deep within the folds of your spirit. It lived in slow moments, in deep breaths, in laughter shared over tea, in quiet pauses between one heartbeat and the next. It was the soft promise that no matter how heavy the days might feel, peace was never truly lost, only waiting, patiently, like a garden in the moonlight. All she had to do was close her eyes and remember, and so can you. It had been many seasons since Eleanor first found the midnight garden. Her days had grown kinder, her laughter deeper, and her heart lighter. She had learned to weave small pieces of the garden into her life, a quiet cup of tea in the sun, a few minutes spent watching clouds drift lazily across the sky, a slow, mindful breath before answering a ringing phone. But some nights, when the world outside felt just a little too loud, or when the moon hung low and golden, Eleanor would feel a tug at the edge of her heart. Not out of weariness. No. This time, it was longing. A sweet yearning to visit an old friend. So, one such evening, she curled into her bed, wrapped herself in the soft cocoon of her blankets, and closed her eyes not with a sigh, but with a smile. She didn't have to wait long. The whispering, door appeared once again, ivy curling, mist rising, and without hesitation, Eleanor stepped through. The midnight garden welcomed her with open arms. The lantern keeper bowed low, the singing willow played her song, and the river of stars shimmered in greeting. This time she brought no heavy burdens. She brought stories of her laughter, her quiet victories, her moments of awe and wonder. She shared them with the garden, like laying handfuls of wildflowers at the feet of an old patient friend. And when she returned to the waking world once more, the garden's peace bloomed inside her, deeper than ever before, not because she needed it to survive, but because it was part of her now, forever, always just a breath away. As you lie here now, know that you too are cradled by the gentle hands of rest. Feel the slow rhythm of your breath, in and out. Imagine the soft moss beneath your feet, the glow of the lanterns, the river of stars. Let go, just for tonight. Tomorrow will wait, for now. Drift, dream, return home to yourself.